There are certain things in life that are too precious to be displayed for the world to judge. When we begin to grow, chase dreams, or build something meaningful, we often feel the need to share everything, our plans, our struggles, our successes. But wisdom teaches us that not everything should be spoken out loud. Some things are more powerful when they remain private, protected, and close to the heart. The first is your vision for the future. When you have a dream, it's fragile in its early stage, like a seed just planted in the soil. If you expose it too soon, you open it to criticism, doubt, and negativity. People may not understand what you see, and their words can weaken your belief. Protect your vision. Nurture it in silence. Let your actions show results before your words declare them. The second is your personal life. Not everyone deserves to know what happens in your family, your relationships, or your private world. The more you open your heart to unnecessary eyes, the more you allow opinions, gossip, and judgment to shape your peace. Happiness grows stronger in silence. Protect the people you love by keeping certain things away from the noise of the world. The third is your struggles. Everyone faces challenges, heartbreak, and failure. But sharing every detail of your suffering with the wrong people only makes you weaker. Some people don't want to see you rise, they only want to feed off your pain. Hold your battles close, learn from them, rise from them. Speak of them only when you've turned them into strength that can inspire, not weakness that can be exploited. The fourth is your acts of kindness. The world doesn't need to know about every good deed you perform. True kindness is silent. It doesn't crave applause. When you help someone, do it with love, not for recognition. The greatest satisfaction comes not from public praise, but from the quiet joy of knowing you made a difference. And finally, keep your weaknesses private. We all have them, but not everyone should know them. The wrong person can use your vulnerability against you. Work on your flaws in silence, polish yourself in the dark, and let the world only see your light. Your strength should be visible, your weaknesses should remain hidden until they are transformed. Life becomes more powerful when we learn what to protect. Privacy is not secrecy, it is wisdom. It is the art of building quietly, growing steadily, and showing the world only the finished masterpiece, not the struggles behind it. Remember, the strongest trees grow in silence, and when they bloom, no one can deny their greatness. When we talk about dreams and plans, we often imagine them as something strong and unshakable, but in reality, at the beginning, they are fragile, just like a newborn child or a tiny seed planted deep in the soil. A dream in its early stage is delicate, and the truth is, it doesn't need exposure, it needs protection. Think about it. When you first plant a seed, you don't dig it out every day to show others. You let it stay hidden, quietly taking root in the dark, away from noise, away from disturbance. Only after time, nurturing, and patience does it break through the soil and reach the light. In the same way, your plans for the future need to be kept private in the early stages because they are vulnerable to outside interference, negativity, and doubt. Too often, people announce their goals too soon. They share their plans with friends, family, colleagues, or even strangers, expecting support or encouragement. But instead of encouragement, what do they often receive? Criticism, skepticism, or even silent envy. Someone might say, "That's impossible," or "You can't do that," or "Why don't you try something easier?" And while these words may seem small, they can plant seeds of doubt in your own heart. Your mind, which was once clear and full of belief, starts to question itself. That is why protecting your dreams is not about being secretive. It is about safeguarding your energy, your confidence, and your focus from unnecessary harm. There is another reason why dreams should remain private. When you speak too soon about what you want to achieve, your brain tricks you into feeling as though you've already accomplished something. Psychologists call this the illusion of progress. By telling people about your goals, you experience a small sense of satisfaction, as if you've already done part of the work. That false feeling of accomplishment can reduce your motivation to actually put in the effort. In silence, however, you keep the hunger alive. You wake up every day knowing nothing is achieved yet, and you must keep pushing until your results speak for themselves. Imagine a young artist who tells everyone, "I'm going to paint a masterpiece." Suddenly, people are watching, judging, and expecting results. The pressure builds, and the artist's creativity starts to shrink. Now imagine that same artist keeping quiet, working in silence, and then one day unveiling a painting that leaves people speechless. The second scenario is far more powerful because the work speaks louder than promises ever could. In life, silence has a special power. It protects your ideas while you are still shaping them, and it gives you freedom to make mistakes, to experiment, and to grow without fear of judgment. Another thing to remember is that not everyone around you wants to see you succeed. Some people will act supportive to your face but secretly hope you fail. Others may not even intend harm, but carry their own fears and limitations, projecting them onto you. If they couldn't achieve something, they assume you can't either. Sharing your vision with such people is like placing your seed in soil filled with toxins. It simply won't grow. Your dream deserves healthy soil, and that soil is your own belief, effort, and persistence. Protect it fiercely until it's strong enough to withstand storms. Think about great inventions, businesses, or movements that changed the world. Most of them were not announced loudly in the beginning. They were quietly built, step by step, away from the spotlight. When they finally emerged, they were unstoppable. The world didn't get to criticize their early stages. It only saw the finished masterpiece. That's the secret. Build quietly, then show boldly. Keeping your plans private also gives you inner freedom. When you declare your dream publicly, you create a kind of pressure. Every misstep, every delay, every failure is noticed by others. It feels like carrying a heavy burden of expectation. But when you keep it to yourself, you remove that weight. You are free to adjust your path, to fail quietly, to restart, and to reshape your dream without fear of judgment. Privacy is not weakness. It's a strategy that gives you the space to grow at your own pace. At the heart of it, protecting your dreams is about respect. Respecting the process, respecting yourself, and respecting the power of patience. Your dream is not entertainment for others. It's not a casual topic for dinner conversations. It is your mission, your vision, your responsibility. And until you are ready to present it with evidence, results, and strength, it should remain yours alone. Like a sculptor working on a statue, you don't invite the world into your studio every day to comment on every strike of the hammer. You reveal the statue only when it is complete. So, the next time you feel tempted to share your big plan with everyone around you, pause and ask yourself, will this help my dream grow or will it make it weaker? Remember, your vision is your treasure. Guard it, protect it. Work in silence until the day your results announce themselves louder than your words ever could. There is a part of life that is too sacred to be shared with the world, and that is your personal life. In today's time, people are so quick to display every detail: what they eat, where they go, whom they love, what they argue about, and even the most intimate moments of their lives. But the truth is, the more you expose your personal life, the more you invite opinions, judgment, and sometimes even harm. Your family, your relationships, and your inner circle are like the foundation of a house. If you allow too many people to walk around it, criticize it, or poke holes in it, the entire structure becomes unstable. Privacy in your personal life is not about hiding. It is about protecting what is precious from unnecessary damage. When you keep your personal matters private, you create a boundary between yourself and the outside world. That boundary is important because not everyone who listens to your story is rooting for you. Some people listen only to gossip about you later. Some compare your life to theirs, and some may even feel jealousy when they see your happiness. Imagine being in a beautiful relationship and sharing every detail with others. Suddenly, opinions start to come in. One person says, "He's not good enough for you." Another says, "She doesn't deserve you." And slowly, those outside voices creep into your mind and create doubt where there was once only love and peace. The relationship wasn't broken because of real problems. It was poisoned by unnecessary interference. That is why silence is powerful. What is private stays, protected from contamination. Your family, too, deserves this shield of privacy. Arguments, challenges, or struggles within your household are normal. Every family has ups and downs, moments of misunderstanding, or differences of opinion. But when those private matters are shared outside, they lose their sacredness. People start judging, taking sides, and making assumptions. What could have been resolved inside the home with love and patience turns into a bigger issue because outsiders are involved. Protecting your personal life means respecting your family enough to keep their dignity intact. What happens within your circle should remain there, not because you are hiding, but because you are preserving peace. Even your moments of happiness don't always need to be on display. When you constantly share your joy, your trips, your gifts, or your milestones, you unknowingly invite envy into your life. Not everyone who smiles at your happiness truly means it. Some carry hidden jealousy, and their negative energy can impact your peace. Have you noticed how some people seem to lose their happiness soon after they flaunt it? That is the power of the evil eye, the unseen negativity that comes from exposing too much. By keeping your personal life private, you protect yourself from such invisible harms. Silence becomes your shield, and contentment becomes your hidden treasure. Another important aspect is dignity. When you share too much about your personal life, your fights, your secrets, your vulnerabilities, you give away pieces of yourself that can be used against you. People may pretend to be supportive, but deep inside, they now know your weaknesses. Privacy gives you control. It allows you to decide who gets to know what about you and at what time. Without it, you hand over the keys of your life to others, and soon you find yourself trapped by their opinions and expectations. Think of your personal life as a beautiful garden. The more people you allow to walk in it freely, the greater the chances of it being trampled, polluted, or destroyed. But if you keep it closed to only a trusted few, it remains lush, green, and peaceful. The flowers bloom, the trees grow, and the beauty stays intact. Privacy is that fence which keeps your garden safe. It doesn't stop you from enjoying it, but it ensures that only those who truly care for it can step inside. There's also a sense of strength in being private. When the world doesn't know your every detail, it can't attack you easily. People can only use against you what they know about you. If you've shared every conflict, every argument, or every weakness, you've given them weapons to hurt you. But when you maintain silence, when you preserve the sacredness of your personal world, you remain untouchable. No one can target what they cannot see. This is why strong people often live quietly. They let the world know only what is necessary, while their true life remains safe in their own hands. Privacy also deepens trust within relationships. Imagine being with someone who tells the world every private detail about you. Would you feel safe? Of course not. Trust is built on the foundation of confidentiality. When your partner, your family, or your close friend knows that what happens between you stays between you, the bond grows stronger. But when you turn private matters into public stories, trust begins to crumble. Protecting your personal life is, in reality, protecting the trust of those closest to you. And above all, keeping your personal life private gives you peace. It frees you from the constant pressure of performing for others or living up to their opinions. You no longer feel the need to prove your happiness or explain your struggles. You live for yourself and the people who truly matter, not for the crowd watching from outside. Peace is found in silence, and silence is found in privacy. So when it comes to your personal life, guard it like treasure. Don't let unnecessary eyes disturb your peace. Don't let careless words create doubts in your relationships. And don't allow envy to steal your joy. Your private world is your sanctuary, and the less it is exposed, the stronger and more beautiful it will remain. Every human being faces struggles. No one is spared from hardship, pain, or challenges. But one of the greatest mistakes we often make is announcing our struggles to the world while we are still in the middle of them. There is a difference between sharing a lesson after you've overcome something and exposing your wounds while they are still fresh. Struggles are like open wounds. If you leave them exposed, dust, dirt, and germs will only make them worse. In the same way, when you share your hardships with people who do not genuinely care, you allow their judgment, gossip, or negativity to deepen your pain instead of helping you heal. When you go through tough times, it is natural to want sympathy or understanding. But the truth is, not everyone around you has the capacity to support you. Some may nod politely, while secretly feeling relief that you are struggling. Others may pretend to care, but will use your story later as gossip. And some may simply not understand your pain at all, leaving you feeling even lonelier than before. That's why it is wise to keep your struggles private until you have transformed them into lessons and victories. When your wounds have healed, when your storm has passed, then your story can inspire. Until then, silence is your protection. There's also a danger in exposing your struggles too soon. You risk being defined by them. People have a way of labeling others quickly. If you share too much about your failures, your broken relationships, or your personal challenges, you may find that people no longer see your potential. They only see your pain. They might start treating you as a victim rather than as a fighter, and once that label sticks, it's hard to shake off. Protecting your struggles means protecting your identity. You are not your failures. You are not your challenges. You are the person who will rise above them, but for the world to see that, you must first fight your battles in silence. Think about someone training in the gym. They sweat, they struggle, they fail countless times when no one is watching. But when they step on stage to compete, the world only sees the strength, the discipline, the results. In the same way, your struggles should be like your private training ground. Let the failures, the sleepless nights, the tears, and the sacrifices happen behind the curtain. When you finally step out, let the world see the strength, not the suffering. Another reason to keep your struggles private is that not everyone can handle the weight of your truth. Sometimes, when you share your problems, you unintentionally burden others. They might care, but they may not have the wisdom or emotional capacity to guide you. Instead of helping, they might end up worrying unnecessarily or giving advice that pushes you in the wrong direction. Struggles require clarity, patience, and faith, not noise from countless voices. By staying silent, you give yourself the space to think, to process, and to find real solutions without being clouded by others' opinions. Also, when you share struggles too openly, you give power to your weaknesses. The more you talk about your pain, the more you relive it, the more it defines your energy. Your words shape your reality. If you keep repeating, "I'm struggling, I'm failing, I'm broken," you reinforce those emotions inside yourself. But when you stay quiet, you force yourself to deal with the problem directly instead of feeding it with words. Silence here becomes not just a shield, but also a strategy for growth. Of course, this doesn't mean you must suffer alone. It's important to have a few trusted people, perhaps family, a close friend, or a mentor, with whom you can share your heart. But the key is choosing wisely. Not everyone deserves to know your battles. Only those who love you unconditionally, who have proven their loyalty, and who want the best for you should be allowed into that private space. Beyond them, the world doesn't need to see your scars until they have healed into stories of strength. History shows us countless examples of people who went through immense struggles in silence before the world recognized their greatness. Many successful leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries didn't broadcast their failures every time they fell. They kept moving forward quietly, adjusting, learning, and improving. Then, when they finally succeeded, they told their stories, not as cries for sympathy, but as lessons for others. That is the power of keeping your struggles private. Your pain becomes your wisdom, your weakness becomes your weapon, and your story becomes an inspiration instead of gossip. It is also important to remember that struggles are temporary. No matter how heavy the storm feels, it will pass. And when it does, do you want the world to remember you as someone who constantly complained, or as someone who quietly fought and came out stronger? Silence during struggle builds dignity. It shows resilience. It allows your eventual success to shine even brighter because no one saw it coming. You endured in silence, and then you triumphed in strength. So, when life feels heavy, when the world seems against you, and when you feel like sharing your pain with everyone, pause. Ask yourself, will telling this to others help me heal, or will it only make me weaker? Remember, your struggles are not for public entertainment. They are your private battles that shape your character, build your resilience, and prepare you for greatness. Keep them close, fight in silence, and when the time is right, let your victory speak louder than your pain ever could. One of the most beautiful qualities of a human being is kindness, but it is also one of the most misunderstood. In today's world, people often confuse kindness with a show, something to be displayed on social media, something to be announced so that others applaud and recognize them. But the true essence of kindness is not in how loudly you proclaim it, it is in how silently you practice it. Real kindness does not need an audience. It does not crave likes, shares, or praise. It is pure only when it is done quietly, from the heart, with no strings attached. That is why keeping your acts of kindness private is one of the greatest forms of dignity and wisdom. When you help someone in silence, you preserve the sacredness of that act. The person you helped feels the sincerity because they know you didn't do it for attention. You did it simply because it was the right thing to do. But the moment you share every good deed, you dilute its power. It no longer remains an act of love. It becomes a transaction, a way of buying validation from others. And validation fades quickly. People may clap today, but they will forget tomorrow. The quiet satisfaction you feel in your own heart, however, will remain forever. There's also a danger in publicizing kindness. It can create an ego trap. When you keep showing the world how generous you are, a small voice inside begins to feed on that recognition. You start to help, not for the sake of helping, but for the applause that follows. Slowly, the purity of kindness disappears, replaced by pride. True kindness loses its meaning when it becomes a stage performance. That is why silence is so powerful. It protects you from the corruption of ego and keeps your intention pure. Think about someone who donates to the poor. If they announce it everywhere, people might admire them. But deep down, the poor person may feel like a prop in someone else's story. Their pain becomes a photo opportunity. Their struggle becomes a platform for someone else's pride. But if that same act is done quietly, without anyone knowing, then it preserves the dignity of the person being helped. It is not charity, it is humanity. Silence in kindness honors not just the giver, but also the one receiving. Another reason to keep kindness private is that it nurtures humility. When you do good in silence, you remind yourself that you are not above anyone. You are not a savior. You are simply a human being helping another human being. Everyone has moments in life when they need help, and everyone has moments when they can give. Life is a circle. By keeping your kindness private, you keep yourself grounded, remembering that what you have is not a reason to boast, but a blessing to share. There's also something deeply peaceful about private kindness. You don't need to worry about what others think, whether they approve, whether they believe you did enough. The act is between you and your conscience, and that's all that matters. Imagine giving someone food when they are hungry, without telling anyone else. Later that night, when you lay your head on your pillow, you will feel a quiet joy, a satisfaction that no applause can match. That joy is pure because it comes from within, not from outside. Kindness in silence also has a way of creating ripples without you even realizing it. When you help someone quietly, that person often feels inspired to do the same for someone else. And the cycle continues. Without ever announcing it, your single act of kindness could set off a chain reaction of goodness. The beauty is, you don't need credit. The universe has a way of multiplying silent kindness and bringing it back to you when you least expect it. We also need to understand that true kindness is not always grand or visible. Sometimes it's as simple as listening to someone who feels unheard, comforting someone who feels broken, or offering encouragement when someone is ready to give up. These moments often don't make it to social media or public recognition, but they have the deepest impact. And because they remain private, they retain their sincerity. The person you touched will never forget it, even if no one else ever knows. Another layer of this truth is that kindness loses meaning when it is used as comparison. Some people announce their good deeds to indirectly say, I am better than others because I did this. But kindness was never meant to be a competition. It is not about proving you are greater. It is about reminding yourself that we are all equal. By keeping your kindness private, you avoid falling into the trap of comparison. Your act remains what it should be, an expression of love, not superiority. And perhaps one of the greatest rewards of silent kindness is that it strengthens your character. You begin to realize that not everything in life needs recognition. You don't always need to be seen, heard, or praised. You learn to find fulfillment in the act itself, not in the reaction it creates. That kind of inner fulfillment makes you stronger, more grounded, and more compassionate. It shifts your focus from what will people think of me to what can I quietly do to make a difference. So, the next time you feel the urge to show the world what good you've done, pause. Ask yourself, is this about the person I helped, or is this about me? If it's about you, then the act has already lost its purity. But if it's about love, compassion, and humanity, then let it remain private, because in the silence of kindness lies its greatest strength. Every person walking this earth has weaknesses. No matter how confident, successful, or strong someone appears, there are areas in their life where they struggle, where they feel uncertain, and where they fall short. That is part of being human. But what many people forget is that weaknesses are not meant to be displayed openly to the world. They are meant to be worked on quietly, transformed in silence, and guarded carefully. Exposing your weaknesses to everyone gives away your most vulnerable parts to people who may not understand, may not care, or worse, may use them against you. Protecting your weaknesses is not about pretending to be perfect. It is about preserving your strength while you work on becoming better. When you openly share your weaknesses, you invite others to define you by them. For example, if you constantly talk about how you lack discipline, or how you're not confident, or how you're easily distracted, people begin to associate you with those flaws. Instead of seeing your potential, they start seeing only your limitations. Slowly, you might even start to believe their perception of you, reinforcing your own self-doubt. But if you keep your weaknesses private, you give yourself the chance to grow beyond them without being trapped in anyone else's judgment. You remain free to evolve. Another danger of exposing weaknesses is that not everyone has good intentions. Some people are like hunters. They look for the soft spots in others, the cracks in their armor, the vulnerabilities they can exploit. If you hand over your weaknesses by sharing them carelessly, you make yourself an easy target. A competitor at work might use your lack of confidence to push you down. A so-called friend might use your secrets to embarrass you. Even in relationships, someone might take advantage of your emotional vulnerability. This is why silence becomes your shield. When people don't know your weaknesses, they cannot easily manipulate you. But keeping weaknesses private does not mean ignoring them. It means dealing with them in the right way, quietly, patiently, and with focus. Think of weaknesses as raw material. In their current state, they might look rough, unattractive, or even useless. But when you put them through the fire of discipline, self-reflection, and practice, they can be molded into strengths. For example, someone who is naturally shy can, through practice and self-work, become a great listener and eventually even a powerful speaker. Someone who struggles with failure can, through persistence, build resilience that others admire. But this transformation is possible only if the process is protected. If you expose it too soon, you open yourself to ridicule before you are ready to rise. There's also something deeply empowering about working on your weaknesses in silence. When no one knows what you're struggling with, there is no pressure, no expectation, no distraction. It is just you, your effort, and your growth. You can fail 100 times without anyone watching. You can stumble, restart, and try again without fear of judgment. And then one day, when you step into the world, people will only see the strength you've developed, not the struggle behind it. That surprise, that quiet transformation, is far more powerful than exposing every step of your weakness. Another reason to keep your weaknesses private is dignity. Every human deserves to be seen in their strength, not in their lowest moments. When you reveal too much about your flaws, you sometimes strip yourself of that dignity. You give others the chance to pity you, or worse, to laugh at you. But when you protect your weaknesses, you maintain your self-respect. You acknowledge your imperfections to yourself, but you don't put them on display for others to judge. That balance, accepting your flaws privately while working on them, is a sign of inner strength. Think of it like building a house. The foundation is always underground, unseen by anyone. If the foundation is weak, you don't invite everyone to look at it while you're still fixing it. You quietly work on strengthening it until it's solid. Only then do you build upward, revealing the strong, beautiful house that stands tall above ground. Your weaknesses are your foundation. Work on them in silence, and when the world sees your strength, they will never know the cracks that once existed beneath. It's also worth remembering that people often respect what they don't know. When you keep certain parts of yourself private, you create a sense of mystery and strength. Others see you as composed, confident, and capable, even if you are still fighting silent battles inside. This perception gives you space to grow. On the other hand, if you constantly speak of your flaws, people may start underestimating you, even when you are working hard to change. Silence gives you control over how the world perceives you, and in many situations, perception becomes reality. At the same time, protecting your weaknesses doesn't mean isolating yourself completely. There are rare, trusted people in life, mentors, true friends, or family, who can help you grow. With them, sharing your struggles can be healing and constructive. The key is being selective. Not everyone deserves access to your vulnerabilities. Choose carefully who you allow into that space. With the right people, your weakness can become an opportunity for support and guidance. With the wrong people, it can become a weapon used against you. So, the journey of dealing with weaknesses is not about denying them, but about respecting them enough to handle them wisely. Keep them private while you work, polish them in silence, and transform them into hidden strengths. because one day the world will see only the strength you've built, not the weakness you once had, and that transformation will inspire more than any confession of flaws ever could. Growth is a process, not a moment. It is like climbing a mountain, step by step, stumble by stumble, slowly reaching higher until the peak finally comes into view. Yet in today's world, people often want to showcase every little step of that climb. They want to broadcast their progress before it's complete, seeking validation for their journey instead of waiting to reveal the strength of their destination. But wisdom teaches us that growth, just like a plant or a child, flourishes best when it is protected. The process of becoming something greater should not always be visible to everyone. It must be nurtured quietly, away from unnecessary eyes, away from judgment, until it is strong enough to shine on its own. When you expose your growth too early, you invite others to evaluate it before it's ready. Imagine a sculptor working on a statue. If they allowed people to enter the workshop at every stage, they would hear endless criticism. The shape is wrong, it looks incomplete, why is it taking so long? But the sculptor knows that art takes time, that the process is messy before it becomes beautiful. By keeping the work private, they protect their vision until the masterpiece is finished. Growth works the same way. If you show the world your process too soon, they may mock the rough stages, not realizing it's all part of the journey. Protecting your growth means allowing yourself to be imperfect in private until you are ready to display strength in public. Another reason to keep your growth private is that external pressure can suffocate progress. The moment you declare, "I'm changing, I'm improving, I'm growing," people begin to watch. Some cheer, but others wait for you to slip. The weight of their expectations can make you fearful of mistakes, and mistakes are essential for growth. When no one is watching, you are free to fail, restart, and try again without shame. But when eyes are on you, failure feels like humiliation, and that fear can stop you from even trying. Silence gives you the freedom to grow at your own pace without carrying the burden of constant performance. Growth is also deeply personal. No two people evolve in the same way. What takes one person months might take another years. But when you put your growth on display, you invite comparison. People will say, "Why are you still at this stage? Others are ahead." That comparison robs you of your unique journey. Just because a tree takes longer to bear fruit doesn't mean it won't one day provide the sweetest harvest. Protecting your growth is about honoring your timeline. You don't need to explain why it's taking longer or why your process looks different. Growth is not a race. It is a journey of becoming who you were meant to be. There is also great strength in surprising people with your results instead of your process. Imagine someone who announces every small step they're taking toward fitness, education, or career. The excitement builds, but if progress slows, people lose interest or even begin to doubt them. Now imagine someone who quietly works on themselves and suddenly appears transformed, fit, confident, successful. The impact is far greater. People don't see the sweat, the failures, the nights of doubt. They only see the result, and that result speaks louder than any promise could. Keeping your growth private preserves the power of surprise, the strength of showing rather than telling. Protecting your growth also shields it from negativity. Not everyone will be happy to see you improving. Some people are comfortable with you staying the same because it makes them feel secure. The moment you begin to grow, it threatens their comfort. They may try to pull you back with criticism, doubt, or even subtle sabotage. If they don't know the details of your journey, they cannot interfere. Silence becomes your armor. The less they know, the less they can harm. Another aspect of growth that requires privacy is discipline. Growth often looks boring from the outside. It is waking up early, repeating habits, practicing skills, failing quietly, and trying again. If you seek validation at every step, you may become addicted to praise instead of progress. You might start doing things just to be seen as growing rather than truly growing. By keeping your process private, you train yourself to find motivation within, not from the applause of others. That inner discipline is what leads to real, lasting change. It's also important to understand that growth is not linear. Some days you take big steps forward, other days you stumble backward. If you broadcast every moment, people may misjudge your journey, thinking you are failing when in truth you are learning. Growth requires patience, flexibility, and the freedom to make mistakes without judgment. Privacy gives you that space. It allows you to stumble without shame, to pause without explanation, and to restart without apology. Think of the strongest trees. They grow silently. For years, their roots spread underground, unseen, quietly preparing to hold the weight of the future. No one notices, no one applauds. But when the tree finally rises tall and unshakable, the world admires its strength, not realizing the years of silent preparation it took to get there. Your growth is the same. The silent phases, the hidden efforts, the unrecognized struggles. These are the roots of your future strength. Protect them. So when you are working on yourself, when you are changing habits, chasing dreams, or building discipline, remember to guard your process. Let the world see the results, not the rough drafts. Growth is sacred, and it deserves to be nurtured without noise. Your journey is yours alone, and it will be more powerful when it is revealed at the right time, fully formed, unshakable, and undeniable. Life has a way of teaching us that not everything needs to be spoken, not every detail needs to be shared, and not every step needs to be exposed. The truth is, silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. What you protect in private becomes your strength in public. Your dreams, your personal life, your struggles, your kindness, your weaknesses, and your growth, they are like seeds. If you leave them unguarded, people can trample on them before they even sprout. But if you protect them, nurture them, and let them grow quietly, they will one day turn into a tree so strong, so full of life, that no one can deny its presence. So, guard your heart, protect your vision, and walk your journey with dignity. Speak less, do more. Show results, not intentions. Let your silence be your shield and your success be your voice. And when the time is right, the world will witness not just what you've achieved, but the unshakable strength of someone who knew how to protect what truly matters.